Welcome back to creating a web application from scratch. My name is Matt, and in this video, we're going to continue setting up our backend authentication by creating a refresh token schema. So let's go ahead and create a task. I'm going to call this create refresh token schema. Add it to our backend authentication epic. Assign it to myself, status in progress. Looks good. So that's been created. So I don't know if we remember if we covered it in our last video. I think we may have, but we'll go ahead and cover it again. So a refresh token is a long-lived token, right? So it's long-lived credentials that we're going to use to create new short-lived access tokens, which is going to allow users to make requests to our backend server APIs without having to make that user log in again over and over. It's going to let us keep these different tokens across different devices as well. So we're able to, restrict access or revoke tokens for particular devices or particular IPs. It's pretty useful. So in a typical JSON web token setup, the access token is what the client sends on each request, right? So in the authorization header, it's going to prove who they are. To limit that damage, right? Like say that token is stolen or, someone gets a hold of a token, we don't want that to live forever, right? So in our app, we've limited it to 15 minutes. So when that token expires, the client, isn't able to make those API calls anymore. However, so we don't have to make them re-enter their password, right? Instead, we're going to send that refresh token to a dedicated refresh endpoint. So when I refresh my screen, when my time expires, right, the server's going to validate that refresh token. And if it's valid, it's going to issue a new access token as well as a new refresh token. So this is that mechanism that's going to keep our users logged in and continue to generate these access tokens without constantly making the user log in again to create them. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and open up my text editor, and in our auth file or auth folder, we should have several other subdirectories here. So if you don't have these, go ahead and create them. We got decorators, DTO, guards, interfaces, schemas, strategies. So go ahead and create those if you don't have them created. And then in our schemas, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new file. And we're going to call it refresh token.schema.ts. All right. So now once we're in the file, let's go ahead and add our imports. So you're going to import prop schema, schema factory, import document and types. We're going to go ahead and create a type, export type refresh token document, just how we did in our user schema. So refresh token and document. I know that refresh token doesn't exist yet, but that's okay. We're going to create that timestamp schema. So timestamps of created and updated are applied by default. And so now let's go ahead and create that schema. And we're going to export our refresh token schema factory, create for class refresh token, right? So there's our structure. Let's go ahead and add some values now. So the first thing we're going to want to add is the token value. So what we're going to say is we're going to say prop. We're going to say required true and unique true, because each token needs to be unique. Token string. All right, now let's go ahead and link this to a user. Let's add some comments in here while we do this. Create token field. We're going to create a link to the user schema and index that user. So we're going to say at prop. We're going to say required true. Type, we're going to give it a type of object ID. And that reference is going to be to the type user. And then we're going to say index true. And we're going to call this user ID. Let's go ahead and create an expiration date along with an index, because we're going to use that index to remove the field after the expiration date. So that index is going to make looking these values up easier and faster for the database. So then we want to create, device info as an optional value for us to use. Nothing needs to be special about that. We're just going to call it device info. And let's do another one for the IP address. Create IP address as an optional value. All right. And then I think the last thing we probably want to do is let's create an is revoked flag that tells us if a value is revoked or not. So let's say create is revoked flag to track if the token has been revoked. So we're going to say at prop default false is revoked Boolean. So by default, it will not be revoked. I think that's all we need for now. We can always add more if we want, but these values are going to let us, revoke particular devices if we want. It gives us some customization in the future if we want to use it. So now let's go ahead and create an index to delete tokens after the expiration date. So what we're going to head to is say refresh token schema index. We're going to say expires at 1 and expires after seconds. We're going to give that a 0 value. So that's essentially saying go through and remove all documents where the expiration token that expires at value is after the timestamp, right? So if the token is essentially has expired, we're going to remove it. Lets us keep our document nice and clean so we don't have a bunch of expired tokens floating around it. Next, we're going to create a compound index for queries like find all non-revoked tokens for user X. Right, so allows us to find tokens for particular users. So refresh token index user ID and is revoked, right? So we're going to create that compound index for both the is revoked and user ID values. All right, so that should be all we need to do for our refresh token schema. So now whenever we save our refresh tokens to our refresh token collection, they should all have these values or can have these values nice and organized. We got our indexes. Yeah, we should be good to go. So just to wrap it up, let's go ahead and go to our Kanban board, go to our task. Let's go ahead and move this to completed state. Let's mark this as completed. I'm actually going to go ahead and go back to our code, and I'm going to grab the code here, and I'm going to post it in here just so we have a record of it. And then I'm going to open our GitHub. We've got one more file, so we're going to say create refresh token schema. I'm going to go ahead and push that to our backend authentication branch. So we got those changes saved, and there we go. So that should be all we need to do today. Shorter video, which is nice. I hope it was helpful, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Thanks for listening.